Hi guys, Adam Ironside here on No Rust TV. Really honoured to be here. It's a fantastic channel that Oleg has set up with really great information and obviously a very loyal fan base, so it's my absolute privilege to be here talking to you today. So let's dive straight in. I'm told that you guys and girls have posed some very interesting and sometimes elaborate questions for me, so let's dig straight in and find out. First set of questions are musical questions. So, at what age did you start playing guitar? I actually started playing quite late in terms of adoption to a musical instrument. I believe, I'll maybe check with my parents, but I believe I was 14. I think I got my first guitar on my 14th birthday. So yeah, let's go with that. Wow, almost 20 years ago. Question 2, where did you learn to play guitar? Mainly in my bedroom, in my parents' house. So I went for one guitar lesson with a friend of mine. We did a joint lesson with a local instructor and I really didn't enjoy it. And I knew from that moment onwards, if I was ever to become a teacher, I would be teaching in very much the opposite way to that person. Primarily self-taught. I learned from YouTube, was really just starting off when I got to about 16, 17. And I learned by watching lessons on YouTube and online, reading things on the internet and in magazines. I did actually go to college for 4 years and then university for 4 years. I was a student for a long time, studying music, learning both practical, so a little bit with guitar lessons, but mainly musical theory and live performance and those kind of things. But for all intents and purposes, I'm pretty much a self-taught player. Question 3. What did you start learning sound recording with? The reason that I started to do it was because there was really nobody else around me in the local area, and there kind of still isn't, who's interested in the same kind of music that I am at that time. So I had to do it out of necessity in a way. What did I first do? I think I had a very old PC and I bought a Behringer desk, and at that point there wasn't really any real USB sound cards, as they were called now, audio interfaces. So I was plugged into an old, I think it was an EMU 1010 or something like that, PCIe interface, Behringer mixing desk, and started from there. And yeah, almost been addicted ever since. When did you write your first song or composition? I don't remember, to be honest, but pretty much immediately I would have thought. I was never really interested in learning other people's music. I've become more interested in that as time has gone on. Even today and back then on my first day of playing, I was much more interested in exploring the guitar and the sounds that it could create, and was writing music from a very early stage. That was the thing that was most interesting to me, composition. So I would imagine that, yeah, 14 years of age, that's probably when I wrote my first song. Where do you get inspiration for your compositions from? From absolutely everywhere. I mean, look around you. Life and this planet and beyond is absolutely amazing. So sometimes I look out the window. I'm very fortunate where I live. I get to look out onto a stables housing some horses and a lovely field with horses. So sometimes I'll just stare out the window there and music will come. Other times, a big thing actually was, not as much anymore, but I used to be really into astronomy, I guess, and kind of exploration of space and physics and those kind of things. Never very good at it, don't have the mind for it, but interested and inspired nonetheless. So I would watch documentaries or short little shows on space exploration, and wow, that's just an infinite universe out there, and the music would just kind of flow naturally. But inspiration, absolutely anywhere. Reading, film, TV, other musicians. I can find inspiration in almost anything, which I know I'm very fortunate to have. Question 6. Does music theory help you to compose? 100%. So in my opinion, music theory is not absolutely necessary. You can just explore the guitar and music and happen upon stuff. But I'm a firm believer in music theory. I really love it. I find it super interesting. And it's almost like a shortcut or an aid to help be able to find sounds that you want to express, or emotions or feelings that you want to express. And likewise, if you just play a riff and you think, wow, what the hell was that? Then you can reverse engineer it and work out using music theory what it was that you just did so that you can do it time and time again in the future. Question 7, is guitar technique important for composing music? Yes, absolutely. So it also depends what you mean by technique. Like everything you do with the guitar is some kind of technique, whether you're playing fast or slow, sweep picking, tapping, bending, vibrato. But absolutely, technique is very important. If you can't play your instrument, then you're not going to be able to express yourself in the way that you want to, or you're not going to be able to express what it is you're trying to express. You're going to feel limited. However, sometimes more can be said with 1 or 2 notes than with 1,000 notes. So just because you can't do blistering sweep picking or unbelievable shred runs or something like that doesn't mean that you can't compose music. Some of the greatest music composed by guitar players, it's really simple stuff. Question 8, please tell us about your music composing process. Man, this is a really, really detailed question that would require a very long answer, which we probably don't have time to go into today. So instead, I'll do a full video on it in the future, and I'll let Oleg know to let you guys know about it, and perhaps he can translate that for me as well into Russian. But as a very short thing, I compose in one of 2 ways. Firstly, I have an idea, inspiration for something, and I'll just sit down with my guitar or, you know, any other instrument and play and see what happens. The second is I'll not have the guitar and I'll just sit and I'll write music using purely theory on sheet music or something like that. I use Sibelius quite a lot, and I'll try and write out some music without actually playing. So I use both approaches, probably in equal measure, to be honest. But I'll do a video on that in the future if you're interested in seeing some more on that. Do your wife and domestic chores interfere with your creative process? Let's be careful. So I'm actually very, very blessed and very, very lucky to have a super supportive wife. She believes in what I do and believes in my music, and for the most part enjoys my music as well, which is good. Of course, real life, I have a job, actually, funnily enough, at Daddario, which of course sometimes gets in the way of the creative process, but I am very, very lucky to be surrounded by people who believe in what I do and support what I do, so it doesn't get in the way as much as it might for other people. In equal measure, yes, being creative is super important, and I believe that everybody is and should be creating something, but spending time with your family and loved ones and doing things away from music or the creative process is also super important. Question 10, what is the most important thing in music? Wow, that's a tough question. Gives me goosepimples thinking about that one. What is the most important thing in music? I guess both as a composer and as a consumer or listener of music, the most important thing is how that music makes you and others feel and how well those ideas translate. I guess it's all about feeling and emotion and creative output. Man, that's a really tough question. Question 11, can you tell us in a few words about how music works? Wow. You guys are really deep, man. How music works. Music is a lot of different things. Music is science. Music is language. Music is art. I'm kind of a believer in the school of thought that you don't actually really write or create music as a composer. You actually discover it. All possibilities of music in any order, in any sequence, any sound is already out there. And it's my job to just go and discover it and write it down, I guess. Man, these are some amazing questions. Much better than the usual, you know, what's your favourite guitar or your favourite amp or something. This is great. Question 12, another big one. Do you think people become musicians or are born musicians? Well, I think both. I think that everybody is born with a creative spark. It might not necessarily be music, but everybody is born with some kind of creativity inside their head. And life and society and education, don't get me started on that, beats that out of us physically and tells us that creativity is not as important as knowing stuff or being able to go out and work in an office or work with our hands or something like that. But on the flip side, I think that musicians are born to an extent, but then yes, they are created. So anybody can channel their inner creativity and have that output be music. And that comes through learning, and really not just learning, but really knowing music and being able to kind of create it and play it and perform it. Question 13. What is important for an artist besides talent? It depends what you mean by an artist. If you look at the people who are quote unquote famous, then, you know, a certain business sense, ability to command social media and those kind of things are really important. But true artistry, it really is just about talent and about practice and honing your craft. Whatever your craft is, you can only get better by actually doing it. It's one thing to read about it and study it and go to college and university, which I did, but unless you're doing it, it's not ever going to be taken to the next stage. So it depends what you want to do with music. Maybe you could write a more detailed question, but talent is super important. But it also depends what you mean by talent. Question 14. What rock or metal album, only one, should every guitarist be familiar with? Flippin' hell. Which one album should every guitarist be familiar with? I'm looking at a poster on my wall there of John Petrucci. So I'm going to say maybe Metropolis, Scenes from a Memory by Dream Theater is a pretty seminal, pretty important album. It kind of tells you everything you need to know about progressive rock, progressive metal. Yeah, I can't answer that question, so I'm going to go with that, Scenes from a Memory. Are there any plans to release your new solo album? There's always plans. I'm always working on music. As I said before, one of my favourite things to do is just to write music. So I've got a few different projects. I do have a bigger album which is in the works. I've also got a few singles and kind of like an EP type thing I want to release. And I've also been playing a lot. If you follow me on Instagram particularly, you'll see me playing a lot of the fretless classical guitar that I've fallen in love with. So I'm working on an EP/album for that as well. So yes, new music is coming. In next session, philosophical questions. Okay, here we go. What is more important in your opinion, friendship or love? Friendship or love? Well, I think they're both the same thing, varying degrees of the same thing. If you don't love your friends, then they're not truly friends. They're maybe just acquaintances. And if you don't have a great friendship with your loved ones, then yeah, it doesn't really work. So I would say that they're both the same thing. Friendship and love are both just another word for love. Question 2. What quality do you value? What qualities do you value highly in people? These are really tough, man. What I will say is I tend to get on better with people who are honest, people who are open-minded. Open-mindedness is something that's really, really important. If you're pigeonholed into only one type of thought or way of thinking or one opinion, we're probably not going to get on very well. Question 3. How can you describe yourself in a few words? Overweight, ginger, beard. Question 4. What three things do you do better than other people? There's nothing that I really do better than other people. What I hope to do is try to better myself a little bit every day, try to become a bit more open-minded, a bit more understanding and a bit more empathetic. Some people struggle with those qualities. It's something I try to get better at every single day. But I'm not inherently better or worse than anybody else. What do you think is the most valuable thing in your life? Well, it has to be the fact that you're living and that you're alive. And of course, my loved ones and friends. Without those, what is life? What do you think are eternal values? I'm not sure I understand that question fully, but I think the eternal values should be things we talked about before, such as open-mindedness, acceptance, adaptability and agility to change your way of thinking or your way of practice, your way of life if it's not working out for you. We should all try to live life through our hearts a little more and not through our heads. We're told in our education system everything is learned with our heads and we know things with our heads, and it really detaches us from our original kind of heart feeling and heart emotion. So one of the eternal values, I guess, for me is compassion and trying to lead from a place of love and from your heart. Question 8. What would you like to write on your tombstone? Not really thought about it. I'm not even sure that I want a tombstone, to be honest. I'd like to just be burnt or chopped up into little bits and just scattered back into nature. This section is called Unusual Questions. Question 1. If you cook mermaid soup, will it be a fish soup or a meat soup? I guess it depends what part of the mermaid you cook. If it's the top part, it's meat. If it's the bottom part, it's fish. If it's both, then in the English language, we have something called a surf and turf, which is a beef steak with prawns on top, so it's fish and meat. So I guess mermaid soup would be surf and turf. Why do people need to have toes? I believe that it helps with balance and the ability to kind of walk and run and grip. Bizarre. Question 3. What time do the night end and the morning start? Well, time is very relative from your position of observation. So morning starts when you wake up and nighttime starts when you're ready to go to bed. 4. Why do towels need to be washed when only clean hands are wiped with them? Well, I guess that's hand towels. Yeah, okay. I can't answer that. But for body towels, you know, you get out the shower and yes, you're clean because you've been showered, but you still, you know, you get some interesting substances on those towels over time. Question 5. Can you say pee with your mouth open? Hey. No. These are Blitz questions. Answer them without thinking. Okay, sweet. Let's go. Question 1. Tea or coffee? Coffee. Question 2. Pepsi or Coca-Cola? Pepsi Max. Question 3. Fender or Gibson? Fender. Question 4. Megadeth or Metallica? Metallica. Question 5. Windows or Mac OS? Windows. Question 6. Brunettes or blondes? Well, my wife's a brunette. Question 7. Dogs or cats? Dogs. I love all animals, but dogs. Question 8. Stability or spontaneity? Ooh, spontaneity? Okay, so there were lots of really great questions there, guys and girls. Thank you for taking the time to write them and for checking out what I'm doing. I really, really appreciate your support and Oleg's support and everyone at No Rust TV. It's a really awesome channel. Some of those philosophical questions were pretty deep, and it's actually given me ideas for topics for new videos. So some of them on you know, can you explain how music works or what it means, and those kind of questions are really important and things that we need to discuss and discover. So I'm going to do a lot more videos on those kind of philosophical questions that you guys and girls have asked me. So I'll let Oleg know when those are available if you're not subscribed to me, and I will get see if Oleg can maybe translate some of those questions and those answers in a bit more detail. What I want you all to do is just focus on your creativity. Do not compare yourself to others. Do not look at social media as if it's a real thing and assume that people with millions of followers are really happy and everything in their life and with what they're doing. What I really want you to do is take a look at what thing about music makes you happy. Is that writing music? Is it creating? Is it music production? Is it specifically mixing and mastering? Is it playing live? Is it doing 20-30 second videos on Instagram? I want you to focus on the thing that you love doing the most, that brings you the most happiness and the most joy in your life, and dedicate a lot more of your time to doing that one thing. And finally, in the broadest Northeast Sunderland Mackem accent, say the motto of No Rust TV. Okay, here we go. Stay positive, drink tea, and of course, divn't rust.